Good morning, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Look, I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about this fine Friday morning. And then it occurred to me, we could do a week in review because there have been some things that have absolutely grabbed my attention this week in true crime. But first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That helps other people find us. Also, find me over on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and what's the other one? Oh, Blue Sky. Okay, so look. This week in social media, Brian Koberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, was back in the news. And she was like, excuse me, Your Honor, I have a couple questions. I mean, she said it in motions in like legal jargon and stuff like that, but I'm not good with legal jargon, so I'm just going to break it down. I'm going to give you the spirit of what she said. The spirit of what she said is, number one, her client is on the autism spectrum. Okay, what that got to do with anything? Anything at all? Oh, my bun is falling out. I hate that. Anyway, she was just like, my client is autistic, and so therefore he should not be subjected to the unalive penalty. As excuses go, that's not a very good one, ma'am. I don't think that flies. You know how many people are on the spectrum who don't unfortunately unalive others? A lot. Most. Almost all, except for your client. So I'm just like, ma'am, that's not a thing, but thanks so much for playing my learned friend. And so she was like, okay. Also, there was something else. Oh, yes. During the course of the trial, we would like, for all the witnesses and everybody not to refer to this as a murder. So y'all just gonna call it an unfortunate unaliving? Because I can absolutely work with that. She's just like, yeah, it makes his feelings, it hurts his feelings, and it makes him feel bad about himself. Did I tell you he was autistic as well? Ma'am, you know how you get people not to call you an unaliver? Don't unalive others. I know. The world is tricky, but that's really, really how that works. She also does not want anybody to use the word psychopath or sociopath. Lady, what? I mean, okay. Maybe that's a distinction that the jury needs to make, but we here, the people of the internet, sitting in the privacy of our own homes and cars and jail cells. I don't know where people watching this from. We all think he's a psychopath. But I mean, if that hurts his feelings, we won't say it out loud where he can hear it. Maybe he should just not listen. It hurts his feelings. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to get your entire life together. Additionally, Vallow Daybell got interviewed by Keith Morrison down there from the Dateline. And I was like, oh, the way I love Dateline, the way I love Keith Morrison. Oh, he leans on things. He has that sultry voice. Keith Morrison, tell us every single thing. Well, Keith Morrison, on the heels of his Dateline interview, went over there and did an interview with Nate Eaton. You know Nate Eaton from the East Idaho News. Nate Eaton was like, I'm friends with Keith. Keith's friends with Lori. I'm friends with Lori. We all got together and we had a little chitty chat. So Keith Morrison did a very nice interview with Nate Eaton, on Courtroom Insider. And so I was like, I need both of y'all to tell me everything because, the way I love my funeral potato Mormon friend Nate Eaton. Oh, he's so adorable. And his cute little family. I just love them so much. And apparently Keith Morrison was worn out by Vallow Daybell. Oh, she's nice. She's charming. I suspect she won't mind if you call her a sociopath or a psychopath because she really, really is. She also is kind of like, she's charming in the way that like cult leaders are charming, which is really quite delightful. Although you should definitely not be a cult leader. You should definitely not, unfortunately, unalive others. I think, you might be sensing a theme here. Don't murder. But Lori clearly didn't get that memo. But according to Lori, she and Chad are going to be fully exonerated. Really now? Where that gonna happen? I would like to know more information about that, Miss Crazy Pants Lori. She was like, I was talking to my BFF Jesus, and he told me that me and Chad are going to skip down a beach together in Hawaii, holding hands, and we won't have them pesky children with us, and we are going to be fully exonerated. Now, are these quotes? Absolutely not. This is not Reuters. This is gossip, rumor, and innuendo. I'm giving you the spirit of what she said. And basically, the spirit of what she said was just like, me and Chad are going to be free. By that logic, I'm also going to be tall and thin someday. Ma'am, I don't think that's how the world works. I don't want to burst her bubble, although I'm not entirely certain that her bubble can be burst. So enjoy your delusions, Miss Lori. You gonna be free. Okay. Also, the rest of us are not safe if you were free. So no, thank you. But Lori apparently has been communicating with Dateline producers for years. She was communicating with them when she was up in Idaho, Iowa. And now that she's down in southern Idaho, Iowa, the Arizona region, the Idaho, Iowa people up north were like, she in prison. Y'all can't come in here with your cameras and stuff. We're not doing that. But when she went down to South Idaho, Iowa in Arizona, the people in Arizona was like, come on in here. Have you seen Sheriff Joe Arpaio? Anything goes out here in Arizona. So, yeah, come on in here. You can talk to her for 90 minutes. And she did the shuckle shuffle, walking on in there, shackle shuffle, going on in there with her handcuffs were handcuffed together. Apparently, when she entered the room, she winked at the cameras. Ma'am, this not gonna get you your freedom. Nobody is gonna like you better. You know what though? I think it kind of doesn't matter if everybody hates her. If she decides that she's well liked, okay, okay, ma'am. So she chatted with Keith. She told him her whole story, including a whole heaping helping of lies. But here's the thing. You know Lori Vallow Daybell is lying if her lips are moving. So we can just sit back and entertain ourselves and not trouble ourselves with the substance of the nonsense that's coming out of her mouth. Listen, me and you, we never going to meet her in real life. Oh, no, we're not going to see her off at the Endless Heaven buffet. I promise you, she not going to be here. And if you don't get your life together, you might run into her at the buffet at hell. I don't know what they serving down there, and I hope to never find out. But Lori's gonna know. She might be the head chef. Look, she might take over for the devil, because that lady, she got the devil in her. Lastly, but certainly not least, I have been wildly distracted by Christopher Austin. Have y'all been watching his testimony? Look, let me put you up on game. Hang on, I got a little amphibian in my throat. Hang on. In the case of the state of California versus Monica Simentelli, hitman helper Christopher Austin has been on the stand for the last couple of days. I have been mesmerized by his testimony. It's probably the most gripping thing I've ever seen on television. Let me tell you something. First of all, I'm going to give you the history of the case. Monica Simentelli was the wife of famed hairdresser Fabio Simentelli. I know you probably never heard of him either. I had never heard of this man until Monica and her evil boyfriend took him off this mortal coil. But now that I've heard about him, I kind of want to know everything about him. He seems like quite a charming fellow and good at doing hair. Who cannot use a good hairdresser? I know. I love my hairdresser. Anyway, so Fabio was over there minding his business, and he had this trollop of a wife that was like, more money, I want money now. And also, she was over there letting the man down to the LA Fitness diddle her kibbles and bits. Okay, you want to get diddled by your racquetball instructor? That's none of my business. Now, this racquetball instructor was kind of a seedy character. I think he was semi-homeless. I'm not sure if he was a hobo-sexual, getting sexual because he was a hobo living up with girlfriends and stuff, but he had a lot of women. And then he was like, oh, I got a nice mark here. Okay, she giving it up out of both draw legs, and she gonna let me move into her mansion. I think she's the love of my life, right? So she was messing with her racquetball instructor, and then she was like, you know what? Living in this house in the lap of luxury, spending all day at the gym, not working, that's not enough for me. I would like my husband to be gone so I could get a whole lot of money. And by a whole lot of money, I mean like $1 million. Wait. Yes, you heard that right. She unfortunately unalived her husband for a life insurance policy of $1 million. Now listen, I personally am real conservative. I don't think you should unfortunately unalive people for any amount of money. But if you're going to, which I do not recommend, $1 million is not nearly enough. I don't know that 100 million would be enough. It might be though. Anyway, but for 1 million, girl, even if they don't take taxes out of it, that's still not, I could spend that before tomorrow afternoon. I'm just letting you know, because just buying eggs, I might spend $1 million. So anyway, she decides to unfortunately unalive her husband. And so she's talking to her little racquetball instructor boyfriend. Now listen, this racquetball instructor has a very seedy past, although some of the jobs he had were honorable. He used to run, I believe it was strippers and ex-workers and the ladies who do the nasty movies with their kibbles and bits and stuff. He was from the other side of the tracks, shall we say, right? So he ran up on this rich heifer and he's like, oh, my ship has come in. So they are having an affair. Okay, you're going to burn in hell for that. But that ain't none of my business. That's actually not illegal. So she was talking to her boyfriend and she's like, let's take him off this mortal coil and then me and you can live happily ever after, and where you could diddle me in, the comfort of my own home without my husband walking in on us. And he was like, okay, cool. So he calls up his little nephew. Now look. Calls up Christopher, who's living up in Alaska. Christopher, prior to this crime, had never been arrested for anything and has not been arrested for anything since. This crime took place like 7 or 8 years ago. So he's like, boop, 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 boop. Hey, nephew. Not his actual nephew. Black people, I know y'all know this. White people, gather around. We here in the African-American community have what we call play cousins and uncles and aunties or whatever. They're not really like your blood relatives, but they feel like your relatives. So you give them like an honorarium, like unc, right? Like your uncle, your sister, your cousin, your play mama, all of them, right? So this dude was Christopher's play uncle, right? He called this dude uncle like from way, way back. This Christopher knows, I can't remember the dude who did the wet work. Child, his name has slipped my mind, probably because he's a scumbag and I try not to hold on to scumbags in my brain. So Unc calls up his little nephew up in Alaska like, hey, how you doing, boy? How's the family? Oh, you tight on Cash App. I got a job for you. If you fly down here to Los Angeles, I know I'm old enough to be your daddy and I'm supposed to be guiding you and mentoring you. I'm going to guide you into a situation and it's all going to be fine. Come on down here to Los Angeles. Help me unfortunately unalive this dude and I'm going to give you some cash and you can go on back. So the little nephew was like, well, I do need some cash. Okay. And so he came. Real bad decision. Real bad decision. Anyway, so he flies down and he helps with the unfortunate unaliving. Meanwhile, while the unfortunate unaliving is going on, Monica Simentelli, the wife, is down to the Target shopping while watching on her smartphone the security system. Girl, first of all, you have defiled the name of Target. I know people are mad at Target right now, but at the end of the day, I love me some Target, right? So she down defiling the Target. I wonder if she got a Starbucks while she was there. Anyway, she was roaming around Target, looking at the security system on her smartphone, watching who's coming and going from the house. So she sees the unalivers approach the property, do the dirty work, and then leave the property. And then she goes home and she's like, oh, my husband is no longer on this mortal coil. This is terrible. Can somebody please give me that insurance paperwork because I'm gonna need that money right away, right? So Christopher leaves this crime and then fly. Now, here was his part. Christopher was supposed to do like the main of the dude, Fabio, but he didn't. He got scared. So when his uncle approached Fabio at his house, put his hands over Fabio's mouth and started like perforating him all up in the neck and stuff, Christopher was like, oh, and stabbed him once and then was just like, okay, let me drive the car. I'm not good at the knife work. And so he took his knife and ran away and buried it in the yard and whatever. He got away. And then he was like real nervous and real upset. And then he flew back up to Alaska the next day. He was real nervous and real shook up. It was a bad situation for him. And then he was just like, his homicidal uncle apparently told him, don't worry about it, kid. You're still a good boy. And he's just like, yeah, I don't feel like a good boy. I think you're not supposed to unfortunately unalive others. And so he got a roll of gold coins. When he said he got a roll of coins that his uncle took out of the safe, I was like laundry quarters? You unfortunately unalived somebody for a sleeve of laundry quarters. I wish I would. Anyway, y'all need to raise your standards. First of all, also don't be for unfortunately unaliving others, but don't do it for a roll of laundry quarters. Turns out it wasn't a roll of laundry quarters. It was a roll of gold coins. So he takes the gold coins. He feels so guilty, so terrible. He hangs on to it for like a couple of months. Then he needed cash. And so he started cashing them in. He got like $6,000. You ruined your whole future for 6 G's. Okay, please hold. So 6-7 years goes by and he's depressed. He wants to unalive himself. He's tried several times. It's a bad situation, but he's doing his best to make the best of his life. He gets a job. He marries his girlfriend. They have a baby. He's taking care of his grandma. He becomes a mentor to young people. And then he's minding his own business driving down the street and the cops pull him over like, sir, we have a warrant for your arrest. And he was like, wait, what? And so they arrest him. They bring him back to Los Angeles. And he was just like, This is the worst thing I ever did in my life. It is absolutely terrible. I'm filled with shame. I have unalive ideation. I don't know how I could go on. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And hopefully someday I will be able to get back home to my family. All I want to do is go home. And I was like, okay, in my book, you are still an unaliver and I'm looking at you crazy, right? So he gets up on the stand and in a calm, quiet way, he tells his story. He tells the whole thing, everything, what happened. And as far as I can tell, first of all, the crime happened 8 years ago, so he doesn't have perfect recall of it, but he gives as many details as he can. He's trying to help the state as much as he can, and he just spills his guts, and he's clearly filled with shame. At some points, he weeps openly on the stand when he talks about this terrible crime and everything that happened and everything that happened in the aftermath. I was sitting there, never, ever, ever have I watched an unfortunate unaliver give testimony that made me cry. P.S. That scumbag wife over there wasn't even dry crying. Ma'am, you can't even pretend to like squeeze out a tear for the unfortunate unaliving of your husband. She sat there like, this is terrible. Oh, I can't believe he did this. Oh, wow. She had the facial features on lock, not a tear to be shed. Meanwhile, Christopher is so overcome with grief and shame that he can barely sit there. Now, don't get it twisted. He still needs to go to prison. Absolutely. What happened to him was horrible. What he involved himself in was horrible, and he will serve his time. I hope he will. But also, his level of like regret and shame really touched me. I was like, wait, do we have a hitman with a heart of gold? He like changed his life all around. After this happened, he became a better person, and he's like mentoring youth. And then he talked about mentoring troubled youth. And when he was being cross-examined at one point, they asked him something and they said like, you know, why did you tell, or why didn't you give all the details or something like this? This was Monica's attorney. And he was like, look, I did what I always tell my guys to do, his little mentees. He was like, if you do something, you got to go, you got to stand up, you got to stand in it and just like take whatever comes. And I was like, why do I like the hitman more than I like the accused? She didn't even do like the actual wet works. Still, I find him less morally reprehensible than her. She's sitting over there looking like a whole scumbag, all indignant, like, I can't believe you unfortunately unalived my husband like I wanted you to. Oh my goodness, I am offended. Meanwhile, he is racked with like grief. Also, he's still a killer. Anyway. So for 2, maybe 3 days, he's been on the stand. His story has never wavered. It never changed. He was just straight down the line. Honestly, I kind of like this dude. He seems like a decent human being who got himself caught up in a terrible, terrible situation. Also, he still needs to go to jail. I know y'all gonna be in my comments like, but he unfortunately unalived the dude. And justice for Fabio. Absolutely justice for Fabio. Absolutely, Christopher Austin should do his time in jail. But if this was me, I hope he gets back to his family. I do. I might even be willing to put a little money on his books. Maybe not. You know, me and my money, we in a codependent relationship. We're not trying to break up like that. But this dude really, really moved me. I was like, get out of here. This is the wildest thing I ever seen. And then yesterday, the defense attorney cross-examined him all day. All day. It was painful. Talk about horse Carpaccio. This man beat that dead horse and beat it and asking the same questions over and over and over. And y'all know I was down in the law and crime watching it because not a lot of people are covering this case. I'm in the law and crime comment section. As an unrelated aside, Law and Crime, what is up with y'all's logo? It drives me crazy. The 2 different fonts, one font for law, one font for crime. It scrambles my brain. I understand why you did it, but I just need it to be like symmetrical. I need those fonts to be the same. Somebody please go tell Law and Crime. Anyway, I was in the Law and Crime chat section. And normally it's the Wild West over there. Even people in chat were like, make this lawyer sit down. Objection, boring, objection, ask and answer. Everybody in the law and crime chat section was a legal scholar yesterday. We were like, make this man sit down. He just kept asking questions and asking questions and asking questions. And this dude, Christopher Austin, held strong. He was worn out. I was worn out. The audience was worn out. Monica Simentelli was like, I wonder what they serving tonight at dinner. Is it more bologna casserole? I'm not sure how I feel about bologna casserole with the hot sauce or without the hot sauce. This heifer ain't have a care in the world. But me, on the other hand, I'm just like, Christopher, I hope you can get home to your girls. Anyway, I've never felt this way about a hitman before. I really have to check myself. I might have to call my therapist. It's too bad this podcast is not sponsored by BetterHelp, because right now, this is where we need a BetterHelp code real bad. BetterHelp, y'all could call me, right? Because y'all pay money for that, right? I could take some of y'all cash. Anyway, I think that's the weekend review so far. If something else pops in my mind, I'll jump on and I'll give I'll do a short or something. In the meantime, I don't make public videos on the weekends. Now, members only videos every day of the week. Mostly 2-3 times a day, every day of the week. But on the weekends, I take a break from public videos. So look, I'm going to see y'all on Monday. Until then, y'all stay safe out there. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.